Very important date.
I overslept from the bus this morning. Here we go. Look, Rob Browne in Memphis, Brendan Martin in Ocala, Florida, executive producer extraordinaire. We got a lot to talk about today, but do us a favor, share and like the show. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Take a picture with your phone of the QR code. We got Jacques Doucet, WAFB Channel 9 in Baton Rouge, going to join us. Award-winning two-time Sportscaster of the Year in Louisiana. Heath Cline, producer and co-host of the Chuck Oliver Show over in Atlanta. Yancy Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, and, of course, Rodney Orr, Tider Insider, going to join us. So let's go ahead and, like I said, share this, like it, put the word out. The Hour of Power begins now.
Hour of Power. That's an old thing, folks. Yeah, just seriously, and I do this about once a week now. Jacques Doucet has joined us in the green room, and he's going to be on in just a second. But take a moment. It's in the chat too, wherever you're watching on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Click on the link in there. Follow us on Twitter, like us on YouTube, or subscribe on YouTube. It's all for free, and it really helps out the show. It makes us able to bring this content for you, to you, each and every day for free. So there you go. That's my plead. Help me, help you. Help me, help you. And with that, Jacques Doucet, welcome to the program, sir. Sorry for the technical difficulties this morning.
Yeah, gremlins. Nightmare. Jacques, I remember when I first got in TV 30 years ago, I remember every time we did a live satellite window for a road game, Auburn at Tennessee or whatever, a local electronics store would buy it. And you go right to the live shot with the coach, in that case, Pat Dye. You go to static, and it was always 3 or 4 seconds, seemed like 3 or 4 hours. But good morning, and thank you for sharing your time with us. And lot happening with LSU. You are so active on Twitter. Folks, follow Jacques Doucet on Twitter. It's a rolling newspaper. It's every day of the week. But what's going on down there in Baton Rouge, and what do you think is going to happen?
Well, LSU's halfway through the regular season. They're 5-1 overall. Their defense is incredibly improved from a year ago. Has carried the team, honestly, to this point. The offense is not nearly lived up to expectations. In the last game at home against South Carolina, the offense finally started moving the ball. The problem is they were the Terminator to themselves, fumbling the ball at the South Carolina 1 yard line, throwing an interception at the South Carolina 1 yard line, and really LSU making some mistakes that prevented them from really blowing South Carolina out. So a win is a win. I think LSU was favored by 9.5. That's what they won by 10, 20-10. And so now, every game from this point forward, especially the next three, are going to define whether LSU's in the playoff hunt or not. LSU goes to Vanderbilt this weekend for the first time, perhaps somebody said since 1948 or whatever. I don't know if they were taking point spreads back then, but LSU is a 2.5-point underdog to Vanderbilt. LSU football and underdog to Vanderbilt. That's not something you say very often, if ever. And so the LSU's got that game coming up this weekend, and then we'll turn around and host Texas A&M in a night game in Tiger Stadium. The Aggies are number 4 in the country. Then LSU will have a bye and then go to the Alabama Crimson Tide. So for a team that was pretty much playoff or bust and already has one loss at Ole Miss, obviously this is going to really define the year.
Well, and everybody, the temperature just increases with NIL, the frustration of fans, the portal. Trust is becoming very difficult because you look at the roster. You get a football program and you look at that and you're like, well, okay, what we need is the crawl, like the ticker tape on the stock market during the day with rosters. But what do you see playing out? Garrett Nussmeier, I don't know if he was hurt or not. I don't know, who knows, but the offense has not been real productive. Is the talent there, in your opinion? Where's the problem on the offense?
Well, I think there have been stretches of the season in which Garrett has not been able to throw the ball down the field like he should. Since Garrett Nussmeier has arrived at LSU, that's never been an issue in terms of him being able to, make every single throw. He's always had the arm strength. So there have been games this year in which there have been guys sprinting down the field and he's underthrown them or, not gotten the ball there. Now, this past game, against South Carolina, he threw a dime about 50 yards down the field and hit Chris Hilton right in the hands, and he didn't catch the ball. So this past game, he was being able to throw the ball. It looked like he had velocity. Nussmeier hasn't spoken to the media since after the Ole Miss game 2 Saturdays ago. But I did see him in the hall leaving Brian Kelly's press conference yesterday, just briefly told him hello and said, "Hey, man, you were throwing the ball down the field." "Yes, sir. I'm feeling better." So he did have an injury. Brian Kelly volunteered that information on his own. Nobody asked him. It was the Monday after LSU beat Florida. Brian Kelly said he's been dealing with a torso injury.
Yeah.
He's made some bad decisions throwing the football. I think certainly when the game LSU lost at Ole Miss, LSU had a 7-3 lead early in the second quarter, and LSU was driving for more points, and he threw the ball in the triple coverage, whatever, and it was picked off, and that was a big kind of momentum shift in the game. He's made some other bad decisions, but hopefully, I think what can make LSU fans excited is the fact that they have not at all reached their offensive potential, and they're still 5-1.
Yeah.
And I think they could afford to lose one more game along the way, but to make the playoff. But certainly they don't have a whole lot of wiggle room at this point. I don't think you can say, "Hey, we're 9-3, we'll get in." I don't think that's the way you want to go.
Well, the earth is still spinning. The sun did come up this morning, and LSU is an underdog at Vanderbilt. I mean, Jacques, repeat. I almost want to repeat it just to say this is real. Now, I've seen, I think in 1990 or 91, I was up in Nashville. I went to the Vanderbilt LSU game. A friend of ours' son was playing for Vanderbilt. But what do you think happens with that one? Because this is a completely different Vanderbilt. Starts with the culture in Clark Lee.
Yeah, I brought that game up just because it was a bad childhood memory, and I got accused of putting juju on the game or jinxing LSU. It was the last time LSU lost to Vanderbilt, 1990. Chad Loop threw a Hail Mary to Todd Kinchin on the final play of the game. Kinchin caught it for a touchdown. Looked like LSU was going to win in miraculous fashion. Referee calls pass interference on Todd Kinchin, and the game just ends. They didn't even get another play. It was like, you lose. It was like, wow, what a gut punch. It was one of those Jefferson Pilot, Lincoln Financial, whatever, 11:30 a.m. games.
Horrible.
Yeah, just one of those, Vanderbilt, that defined Vanderbilt, right? If Vanderbilt got on TV, they were at 11:30 in the morning on that game. But LSU and Vandy, they don't play that often. But that was the last time LSU lost. But Brian Kelly said it on Monday. He said, in this new era, Vanderbilt, it comes from their leadership. It comes from investment, interest. All those things have lined up for Vanderbilt. I talked to Will Muschamp the other day, whose son is a quarterback at Vanderbilt. He talked to me about wait till you get to their stadium and you see their improvements they've made and so forth. And they've invested in their roster, and certainly they've got, I think, on the offensive line in particular, they've got a long list of 4th and 5th year seniors on that team, which is pretty unusual in today's college football. So yeah, it's not your daddy's Vanderbilt or that little piddly stadium that nobody goes to. I always thought, young people want to go to places that are exciting and are fun, and Nashville doesn't get much more exciting and fun. I mean, it's a clean city. There's always a million things to do, obviously, in the music industry and so forth. So it seemed like it was a place that could thrive in college football and just hasn't. But I mean, if you look at Vanderbilt's body of work, I guess I'm not shocked that they're the favorite in the game. They've lost one game. They were in the game at Alabama, and Diego Pavia had some bad turnovers inside the 20-yard line that cost them. But they put a lot of points on the board. They've played not the toughest schedule, but if you just want to compare scores, they went to South Carolina and beat the Gamecocks 31-7 in Columbia, and LSU beat them 20-10 at home. So that's just one indicator.
Yeah, no, and a couple of years ago, we were up there for the Auburn Vanderbilt game. My wife said it was like a Skinner box. They were retrofitting the stadium. B.F. Skinner, the famous animal behavioral psychologist or whatever, it took you 45 minutes to get out of the stadium. But First Bank has really made that stadium nice, and it is completely different. You look at the defense for LSU. God, they're good. And without that defense, where would LSU be, in your opinion?
It's hard to say, but I mean, you beat Clemson on the road in your season opener 17-10. You only gave up one touchdown in that game, one drive. The 3 points Clemson scored were off of LSU turnover. You come home against DJ Lagway in the SEC opener. You intercept him 5 times, including a pick 6 for a touchdown. The offense only scored 1 touchdown that game. And then in this game against Lenora Sellers, who certainly is being projected to be a top 5 NFL draft pick, big arm, big legs, being able to run. They held him to, I think, 19 yards rushing and 124 yards passing. And South Carolina broke off 172-yard run, and that was all they scored. I saw Blake Baker, LSU's defensive coordinator, on the field after the game. He was smiling and happy initially, and then he told me, he goes, "Man, I'm mad about that run. Mad about that run we gave up." And that's the only touchdown they gave up, So that's where they are now, as opposed to in 2023 when Jaden Daniels and company are putting up 49 points at Ole Miss and still losing 55-49. So that's the frustrating thing to LSU fans, is that they finally got a defense that really they can hang their hat on, especially in a road game. The defense travels, but the offense just is not carried their end of the bargain. And Garrett Nussmeier's numbers are way down from what they were a year ago at this time. For a fifth-year senior, he's still making some very bad decisions. And it's, it's got a pro feel to it, because in this new NIL era, everywhere you look, Garrett Nussmeier is on a billboard. He's on a commercial. He's on a TV commercial, a radio commercial. And, it's the old overexposure. I've seen enough of this guy, And you're a professional now. You're getting paid. You're getting compensated a lot of money, and that's another question for another day. Are they too young? Are they not ready for all this? Especially when you're coming off of Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, the 2 best quarterbacks in the history of the school. So there's a lot on Garrett Nussmeier's shoulders, and the expectations around here have changed. I don't always like that, to say if we don't win a championship or make a playoff, it's a bust season. But when you invest $18 million in the roster, you've got $100 million into the coach over 10 years, and assistant coaches making $2.5 million. Yeah, that's the way it is.
Well, it's why we always had the NFL, the professional leagues, and college, and the geniuses that cook all this stuff up thought, it wouldn't be a problem. It is having a serious effect. As much as NIL is a pain in the ass, it's the portal. And we talked about it yesterday on the show with Ellis Johnson, Pete Cordelli, 2 longtime college football coaches that have won national championships, and Dave Bartu, college football matrix. No continuity. That's got to be hard. The offensive line, nobody thought it would be a big deal with Texas replacing 4 starters coming in. Arch will figure it out. I mean, and so Garrett Nussmeier is 7-4 now as an SEC starter, 21 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. But he's everywhere, and the fans are scraping together and sacrificing and giving up a week at the beach now to buy the tickets. Yeah, it's a mess. And I don't blame fans for being upset, especially if the team is not performing. And then they go, golly, if I get fired from my job, what would Kelly get? $60 million to see you? I mean,
yeah. Well, that's the thing that's really getting gross. I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday. I don't know how this started. Well, I guess I do know Jimmy Sexton. I guess he was the one that really got this going. I mean, I don't want to be melodramatic and stuff, but I mean, all the things in the world, from sickness and disease to needing new roads to LSU hasn't built a new library and it's fallen apart, and we're going to give some guy $60 million to go sit on his butt and do nothing. I mean, it's just kind of disgusting. I mean, it's America, and people can do what they want to do with their money, but these buyouts and all this stuff. I mean, I still remember, going back to 1990, LSU, Mike Archer getting fired as LSU's head coach, and he's at the podium and he's crying. And my dad says, "Oh, poor guy." Nobody's saying poor guy to anybody who gets fired in the year 2025 at this level of football. So, it's just so intense and so much money, and social media has made everything worse in terms of people who think they know everything.
Yeah.
And, somebody throws a 60-yard touchdown pass and somebody's on Twitter saying, well, the ball was underthrown. It's all that stuff. It's just the negativity.
Yeah. Another, we need Ralph Nader, former consumer advocate out there, looking at the colleges. Everybody talks about waste from the federal government and state government. Look at the waste of the colleges. I mean, you're right. We're gonna pay this guy. Hey, we lose our jobs, all of us, man. People want to do a GoFundMe for you, but it
2 weeks severance. That's it. Get out of here.
Yeah, get out of here. Get your shit in the box and go. All right. Heath Cline will try to. He's going to come on tomorrow. It looks like with our next guest. If you can stay a couple of minutes, Heath is over the Chuck Oliver show in Atlanta, producer and co-host. Absolutely brilliant guy, and he's so talented. As was his predecessor, Dan Matthews. Love that guy too.
Yeah, I know Dan very well. Yeah, great guy.
And back in Houston now on AM 790. Dan, I tell you what, that's like having Nick Saban as your producer, buddy. You talk about a genius, tough, and tell you what's going on. You love it. So, Jacques, looking around the SEC, the league top to bottom, compare it to a year ago and other leagues around the country, most notably the Big Slim, the Big Ten.
Well, I think Coach Kelly yesterday, I asked him, I said, is Vanderbilt the ultimate testament to college football in the modern era? Because we know what they've been in years past.
Yeah.
James Franklin, who just got fired for Penn State, I think he had them. I think they won 9 games 3 years in a row or something. He did a great job there. But for the most part, they've been a laughingstock. The 2019 LSU Dream Team went over there, scored 65 points, if I remember, 66 points. I think they announced a crowd of 32,000. And I asked Coach O after the game, I said, how many of those people were LSU fans? Oh, about 30,000. And he was right. It was purple and gold throughout and a little bit of sprinkling of black and gold in the stands. But yeah, I think you no longer have the 12-0 Alabama juggernaut, and you no longer have the 3-9 Vanderbilt doormat. I mean, Mississippi State shown improvement, obviously a lot. Arkansas is struggling badly. They may end up in that space. Auburn, they've just had a hard time winning games. But for the most part, you look at LSU's schedule, and there's outside of the Western Kentucky game in November. I mean, there's really no game that you can say, hey, we're going to go in and win today, no problem. The second you do that, you start comparing scores. What happens. Texas goes to Florida, and Billy Napier is dead man walking, and Florida ambushes them and smacks them pretty good. So it's kind of stuff that still happens in this league. And LSU, they could easily beat Vanderbilt on the road, beat A&M at home, go beat Alabama. Oh, we're going to sleepwalk, and Arkansas will come in and punch you in the mouth. It's just the way it could go if you're not careful.
Well, Bob Petrino's there, and a likable guy he is. And
I remember real quick when Nick Saban left LSU and Les Miles eventually got the job. They interviewed Petrino back then, and the word was that this guy was a genius. He came in and drew up these plays, and it's like, man, he blew our minds. And then I think Skip Burtman, the AD, not the most likable guy in the world. Ooh, kind of a weasel. And so it did not hire Bobby Petrino. And I think in 2011, Rob, LSU on their way to the national title played Arkansas. Both teams were ranked in the top 3. Petrino had that thing up and rolling, and then came the motorcycle and all that, and he was out. And then they had that crazy guy. Was it Larry? Was it Smith or whatever?
John L. Smith.
John L. Smith with those press conferences and stuff. But hey, look, we all make mistakes. He's gotten his second, third, and fourth chances. Louisville hired him back, and who knows what Arkansas will do with him. I don't know.
And the Atlanta Falcons fans always will love him. Who will forget that Monday night football game? I mean,
they played the Saints. I remember the only reason I remember that is they played the Saints, and Warwick Dunn, one of the greatest human beings on the face of the earth, from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, who's done all these houses for charity. He was on that team, and they get drilled on Monday Night Football, and then the coach apparently left a note on their lockers. Hey, I'm leaving, and then by Tuesday night at like 9:00 at night, they're doing a press conference, and he's doing Woo Pig Suey.
Yeah. Well, and Warwick Dunn went to Catholic, didn't he?
Yes.
And there's also a Redemptorist. Science Lab, Baton Rouge, is one
That
of those
school's
cities.
closed now, by the way.
Redemptorist is? Okay.
Yeah, they shut it down. It was funny because at one point around 2014 or 15, LSU had, we had 3 players in the NFL from Redemptorist: Jeremy Hill, Lael Collins, and Russell Gage. But that was a powerhouse football team. Sid Edwards, who's now the mayor of our city, was the head football coach there for a long time. But anyway, long story short, it's not there.
Well, in Baton Rouge, Mobile, and Detroit, I think per capita have produced more NFL players the last 30 or 40 years than any city in America. It's amazing. And hey, we got a chance to talk last night, Jacques, with Rich Clark, the executive director of the College Football Playoff Committee, was at the Touchdown Club in Memphis. Of course, Landers Ford, one of our sponsors, is the title presenting sponsor, and they do an unbelievable job. I talked to Kent Ritchie, the owner of Landers Ford, last night, and they auctioned off some really cool stuff. A football, a miniature version of the national championship trophy, which was like gold bullion. It was really, really cool. All of it goes to Lamont Children's Hospital, but we've got some sound bites we'll play at some point. But it was funny to hear Rich Clark talk about what he does. He doesn't sit there. He doesn't, go into a game. He said it's fun and all, but paradise to him is watching 12 to 15 games on a Saturday. And he goes in front of the TV, and his wife is like, "Look at you, just laying around watching football." And he goes, "I'm working. I'm working." And of course, 38 years he was in the Air Force. He was a B-1 bomber pilot in the Iraq War. And man, that is, you've met Rich Clark. I know you have. And by the way, the interviews, Jacques, that you put up on YouTube and on your channel, and Brendan, having an executive producer like Brendan, who's a huge fan of yours, watching quality work, you are to be commended. And I'm telling you, before you go, let people know how they can follow you and keep up with all your great work. And as my friend Mary always says, thank you more than you know. And I'm sorry about the delay this morning. That's always on me, but look forward to having you on again soon.
No problem. I've been, it's funny you use the word gremlins. That's the same lingo we use at our station when things go wrong. The gremlins got us today, whether we got stuck at the airport or the SAT truck didn't work, so that's what happens. But look, my name there on the screen. Look me up on YouTube for the latest Jacques Talk interviews, including one with Emmitt Smith just recently, the Florida Gator great, swung by. And we'll have, I think we're going to post a couple this week before LSU goes to Vanderbilt and plays the Commodores bright and early at 11 a.m. If you're a fan of high school football, Sportsline Friday night, we come on at 10:10 Friday night. We go to 11 o'clock at night. We try to get 20 games or more on the air each week, highlights and scores. And then we'll have your LSU coverage, your Southern Jaguar coverage. And I went to the New Orleans Saints on Sunday to cover their game against the Patriots. They lost, but it was cool to see Kayshon Boutte there, former LSU wide receiver who had his share of drama at the end of his LSU career. But great interview with him to say, hey, I could have done things differently and done things better, and I've grown up now. Will Campbell, Big Will, the only guy with cowboy boots in his locker, I think, for the Patriots there. So it was good visiting with those guys. Anyway, WAFB.com is our website, so check us out.
And one last thing, is that a third Emmy over your right shoulder?
Yeah, well, Darren DeQuano, the videographer, he's Michael Jordan. You could say I'm Luke Longley. I'm a gravy training off his work, but
wow.
We've teamed up for 3 of them. Cecil versus the Diesel, that's the latest one. We did one on a guy named Tiger Thomas, Lionel Thomas, and one for our SEC championship pregame show in 2019, which was a great team effort as well. So those are.
Well, that you are to be commended. That is, especially Brendan building TV trucks and all those years. It's great to have you on here.
Well, I joke with you too. I think I showed you the other day, and look, I hope they don't get mad at me because I may not win again after. So here's your inflation for you. That was Sportscaster of the Year in 2017, and that Sportscaster of the Year in 2021. You can see it's like the chicken fingers they've gotten small. That's your inflation right there.
Well, it is. It's amazing.
I'll never forget getting my first Telly award, and then they asked me to pay for it if I wanted the hardware. I was like, "Oh, I want an award," and they're like, "Oh yeah, you have to pay for the hardware."
Yeah, play on your ego, and then hey, by the way, here I need.
By the way, it's a total ripoff. This is a total ego thing.
Well, it reminds me of when Malcolm Glazer, the former owner of the Tampa Bay Bucks, the family bought the TV station I was working for in Columbus, Georgia. We got a Christmas bonus check on Friday. We had the office Christmas party Friday night at the Columbus Country Club with a cash bar. You can't make that stuff up.
Rob, you've been promoted. You now have the title of da 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 da. Oh yeah, well, how much am I getting paid? The same.
Well, actually, oddly enough, you could pay your bar tab with your paycheck. So
That's
there you go.
right. Jacques, have a great day. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate
Jacques,
it.
I'm going to call you one time. I got a really good idea for a mini doc. I think you would be perfect for it. So I think it'd be great. All right. Thanks.
Sounds good, man. Good
All
talking.
right.
Love that guy. Hey, Brendan, you have such an appreciation and Yancy is going to join us in just a moment. Heath Cline, we'll bring him on tomorrow, folks. Due to my stuff this morning, we were a little bit late, but you understand putting together TV trucks, what goes on in live production for a typical SEC game. Let's say Alabama LSU at Bryant-Denny. How many TV cameras are going to be put out there for a typical game?
It depends on the matchup. So if it's a big game, obviously, if it's their big game, it's like anything else: A squad, B squad, C squad, D squad. You know,
Yeah.
You got your A crew, and then it's the same people. Like you see a game day or whatever it is, or Fox, big noon and all that stuff. That's a crew, but they're all freelancers, right? And they have, and so that crew will work that show for the season. So you'll contract the season for the most part. So director, producer, technical producer, all the tape people, all the camera guys, everything else. So generally, for any game, if y'all think about it, it's real easy, right? You got a high 50, that's your game camera, right? That's right in the middle, right? That's the camera that goes left and right, pans left and right, and that's what we watch a lot of. Before the snap, right? Little push in, see a little zoom, then they cut to something either a handheld on the sideline, which will probably be either one person that roams the sideline or two, and then you have what you call a low end zone. Right, so that'll be one. It's probably a south end zone. Will be a low, like a lower field from like the lower ring, and then you'll have a higher end zone on the other end, and then you'll have two hashes right on either end. So, and then you'll paint from there. Now they'll add, depending on the broadcast, a little POV here, little mic POV there, all that stuff. That stuff gets added, as you go, because you have to have a reporter down the sideline. So you have drops. Yep. So they create little mini studio drops all around. That's the job. And then as you go, they literally, it's like a theater. So they unhook their cameras, run over to their other station that they already built 2 days ago, plug into that, and they do their stand up there. And a lot of times when you see these interviews of the coaches coming on and off the sidelines and all that stuff, that's generally not live. So that is happening seconds before.
Yeah, you're right.
And you're dumping it to tape. And as it going to tape, it's like TiVo, right? I always say it's like you have but you have all that, you're like start your record, and then you have to slip time, right? So you're like 20 seconds ahead, but we're still recording the interview, right?
Yeah.
And the whole game, Rob, and I'll finish this. Yancy's here, but the whole game is that you really want to make everything look live, but you really want to record as much as you possibly can to tape.
Yeah.
Because that way you can control the dance. It is really quite the deal. And with that, we'll bring in Yancy Porter from Hotline.
And then at some point, if we can, if you got the Rich Clark sound bites, I'd like to let people hear what he had to say. That was pretty cool last night. But Yancy, welcome aboard. Gremlins are everywhere in the atmosphere today. It's always on me.
No, that's just Rob's brain.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but Yancy,
hi, Yancy. You there?
How are you? Big one this weekend, man. Ole Miss goes to Athens to play Georgia. Y'all were talking about it on the Rebel Yell hotline last night while I was at the Touchdown Club meeting. But what do you see unplaying? At Kirby, Georgia's got one loss. Ole Miss is undefeated.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the first big true road test for Chambliss. That's the first thing that stands out. And second thing is, I think it's a good matchup for Ole Miss offensively. Georgia has a hard time creating pressure on the quarterback. Ole Miss gives up the third fewest sacks, and you got a mobile quarterback that can make plays with their legs and a really deep and talented receiver core on the other side of the ball. Ole Miss has not been elite whatsoever at stopping the run. Georgia's good at running the football. I think both of them have got some mismatches, and which team can take advantage of their mismatch the best.
Well, you look at Georgia. Nobody plays a full 60 like Georgia. That's why Kirby's got that team. I mean, the first half against Auburn, they looked offensively anemic. And then after 2.5 days of a review, they got to halftime. But man, in the second half, Auburn, as Chuck Oliver says, watching Georgia just dismantle Auburn was like watching a python eat. It was not a pretty sight. And Kirby is so good at adjusting at the half. But Lane Kiffin versus Kirby, that's one of the best matchups. And last year, Ole Miss dismantled Georgia, 28-13. We saw Austin Simmons come in for that one drive, and people had him going to New York this year. Man, where does Ole Miss have an advantage?
Again, I think that they got their advantage. Georgia's Kirby historically has trouble with multi-dimensional quarterbacks, guys that can make plays with their feet. That's another guy you have to account for. And Georgia, for whatever reason this year, probably because they lost some really good defensive linemen last year, in the new NIL portal era, you're not able just to stockpile talent like we've seen in years past, they don't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and if you give Chambliss time, he can be very dangerous.
Well, the game Saturday against Washington State, Lane Kiffin was not happy. The crowd, the team, they feed off each other. And Washington State came in, and as the term, Dan Peck, my friend on the afternoon show in Auburn, the afternoon drive, calls it pest control. That's where Ole Miss has trouble. Last year it was Kentucky. This year, Washington State was almost the mouse in the house. Trinidad Chambliss, it's his team now. How do you think he responds?
Well, that's the $1 million question. It's his first true road test, and we're going to see how he responds. But he's also, he's a 4-year starter, not at Ole Miss, but he has a lot of experience, and so that kind of gives you some comfort. It's going to be a great chess match between the two coaches. Both, there's no perfect team, nowhere near a perfect team anywhere in the country. Everybody has some chips in the armor, and who exploits their weakness the best is who's going to come out on top.
All right, we know North Carolina brought in 70-something new players, and that is it's beyond a disaster, dumpster fire, grease fire. It's going to be on Cartoon Network the rest of the season, I think, North Carolina football. It's awful. Ole Miss brought in how many new players this year in the portal, high school, and everything? What's the total number?
I believe it was 48.
Okay, and look how they managed to do it, and look how a 6-time Super Bowl champion coach is mismanaging it. That Lane Kiffin is a unicorn in this day and age of NIL and portal, because whatever he does in that process, the system at Ole Miss, it works every year, Yancy.
Yeah, I mean, it was just kind of the perfect volcano, right? When Lane got hired, immediately you had the portal, and then you had NIL, and those are his strengths. He's got NFL experience, and he just he knows how to evaluate. He knows how to put a dollar amount on what each player's worth with your budget, and he's done as good or a better job at that as anybody in the country.
Looking for the missing persons report, still no definitive answer on what happened to Ulysses Bentley IV last year at Ole Miss. But I saw him on the side of a bus the other day in a milk carton. I still don't get it. Hey, look who's on here with us. One of the, as you call him, Yancy, one of the OGs, the original guys, Rodney Orr, Tighter Insider folks. Do yourself a favor, $48 a year. The man from Corpus Christi and Mobile started it in his living room in Texas in 1996. Titer Insider, folks. The forums, the fan forums, you can't get better for coverage of Alabama. And Tuesday nights, they do Titer Insider TV with our good friend Gary Harris. Rodney, you there? Yeah, I was hoping he was there. But anyway, Rodney, let's talk about Alabama. Alabama's got a matchup this weekend at home against a Tennessee team that's scoring a lot of points. And you know what, Yancy? We'll flip it back. All these matchups. Let's look down the league. Alabama and Tennessee Saturday. Arkansas and Texas A&M. That's in Fayetteville. Auburn and Missouri. That's in Auburn. Florida, Mississippi State. That's in Gainesville. Of course, Georgia and Ole Miss in Athens. Kentucky and Texas in Lexington. LSU at Vanderbilt in Nashville. You go on down here, South Carolina and Oklahoma. That, of course, will be played in Columbia. So it is a busy weekend. Looking at all these games, first off, do you like the triple header that ABC's put together now? I think it's fantastic.
I do. I hate any game noon, 11 o'clock kickoff though. I don't know. I just wish they would get rid of that.
Yeah. Well, it's the timeout game.
I do like the triple header. I mean, we all do. If it were me, I would move it to like 1, 4, and 7, right? Something in that, and get it away from that 11 or 12. It just takes away the atmosphere. I don't know. I just don't like it.
Well, the problem is with the reviews. I mean, the last minute and a half of the Auburn Georgia game took 38 minutes with all the reviews and the forensic autopsies and the crime scene and NCIS. I mean, it's insane. We'll try it again.
And they still couldn't get it right.
Yeah, they still couldn't get it right.
The ball crossed the goal line. Everybody in the country saw it. And
Ulysses.
I don't know.
Well, Ulysses Bentley the fourth. Where are you? That's what I have to say.
They got to do something about the officiating. I mean, look. Auburn has gotten absolutely hosed 2 games this year, and they got some bad calls in the third. But the Oklahoma and the Georgia games were just ridiculous.
Well, it is, but as a head coach, you have got to not play the victim and be frustrated, because I know how frustrated he was. You could see that, but because it transcended. Even the players said, the second half they were kind of listless, and that is easier said than done, because when you see it happening, and John Cohen went off, it was crazy. Rodney Orr, Titer Insider, gave you a hell of an intro just a second ago, like you were winning an Oscar. Speak up, make sure we can hear you. Rodney, you there? Okay. Well, Rodney, just jump in when you get here. But Yancy, looking at Ole Miss right now. First off, what's going on with Austin Simmons?
He's just not back. I mean, it's rumored he tore a ligament in that ankle, back in the second game of the year. Maybe it happened the third when he came in for that one series against Arkansas when Chambliss went down. But he's just not back. And he struggled a little bit when he was the starter, and putting him out there with limited mobility is probably not the best recipe for success for Simmons.
Well, you start looking at quarterbacks when you try to rush them out there. Did you see John Mateer's hand in the Oklahoma-Texas game? And I mean, there were reports that there was blood coming out of his hand.
Yeah, I didn't see the blood. I didn't get to watch play by play. I was keeping up with it sporadically. But you could definitely tell that he had limited arm strength, hand strength, whatever it was. The ball was not coming out of his hand like it had all year. And that's a perfect example right there. And Mateer, though, he's a little bit different. He's a multi-year starter. He has experience, and you put in Simmons, who's started 2 games in his career. And then you get him killed out there, and what does it do to him mentally moving forward in his career? We see it in the NFL all the time. It can really set a quarterback back years. So, I know Simmons is itching. He is dying to get out there. I mean, there's no question about that. But until he gets that ankle all the way back healthy, I just don't know if it's a spot to put him back in.
Yeah, Rodney, if you're there, jump in. I know I've tried a couple of times, and we've got, but it's Gremlin Tuesday right now. Rodney? Okay.
While Rodney can't get on, another perfect example is you look at Ty, over there at Alabama, how much he struggled and how long it took him to mentally get through the wars of the SEC, and you compare him now to where he was even last year, and certainly the year before. It's night and day, and that's why you just don't want to run a quarterback mentally. And Alabama saw that he wasn't quite ready. His is more not on a physical standpoint, but a mental standpoint, and now he's mentally ready. And Ty's playing is arguably as well as anybody in the country right now.
He is, and Ty Simpson is a fourth-year junior, and he's a coach's son. I do think that helped a lot in his maturation process at Alabama, and he's having a really good year. He's a smart. I mean, you go back and look at Joe Burrow when in 2018 at LSU, he completed about 54.6% of his passes. The next year, 78.6, something like that. That's a quantum leap forward. Hard to do. All right, we're going to play a little game here, Yancy, and I appreciate you. We'll work through it. It's like, we had 4 guests lined up today. We had some technical issues. We lost one engine early. We rescheduled that for tomorrow. Looks like we lost another engine. We still got 2. I've managed a lot of clients' affairs over the years who were pilots, and they always said, well, if I lose an engine flying from Memphis to Heathrow or Charles de Gaulle Airport, I've got 3 others. If I lose 2, I got 2 others. Long as I got 1, we got a chance. Okay. So you're saying we got a chance. All right. I'm going to say the name of the school, and you stop me at the compelling story right now of where they are. Alabama. We just talked about them. Arkansas. Real quick synopsis on what you saw out of them this past weekend over in Knoxville.
Resurgence, just energy, coaching staff, players, everybody.
Okay. Auburn. Wah.
Fighting for their life. I would, if I'm Hugh, I make a quarterback change. I go with the young freshman out of Mississippi and try to get some momentum towards the end of the year to save his job.
Shane Matthews, legendary Florida quarterback, host of Pot Up with Matthews in the mornings in Gainesville. See, that is 7 to 8 our time. Great show. He was on the show this past Thursday. I asked him about Jackson Arnold and the quarterback situation. He said, they're almost like they're wasting those wide receivers at Auburn. And he said, what's the young guy's name from Mississippi? I said, Deuce Knight from Lucedale, George County. He said, yeah, why not give him a chance? You got to do something. And I'm with you. And I know you got to do something. Even my wife noticed.
Auburn has everything. They got defense. They got wide receivers. They're all the pieces are there. He's just simply each year he's been there at Auburn, he's had the wrong quarterback.
Yeah, and it's rather obvious. Yeah. Okay. Florida plays at home against Mississippi State in the Swamp Saturday. What about Florida right now? It's really got your eye.
Do or die. I think it's already die, but you play poorly, not even win, but you play poorly against Mississippi State, and a coaching change could happen.
Yeah. All right, let's look at Georgia. We talked about Georgia and Ole Miss extensively. Kentucky and Texas. Wow. Is this going to be the game where Arch goes on the road? Man, with all these grandfathers, uncles, it's Arch. And as Shane Matthews said, who knows the quarterback position quite well. By the way, I never knew this about Shane. I always thought he was from the Gula, as John Hartwell calls it, Pascagoula. You know where Shane Matthews grew up? What town in Mississippi?
Pascagoula.
Cleveland. He's a Delta boy. I did not know that. And John Hartwell was on here with us Thursday. And John said His father and mother, of course, both graduated from Ole Miss, and his father did not wear socks when he played football for Johnny Vaught and Ole Miss. They called him Indian Bill. I did not know any of that. But you know what? There's a lot of stuff we don't know. But Arch Manning and Texas and Kentucky, he said the same thing. He said, "What has he started? 7 games?" He goes, "People, calm down. He's going to be fine." You know the Manning family. I mean, what we love about them is they're classy folks. They're from the Delta. It all started over in Drew, down on 49, just south of Parchman, cotton gin country. But I think Arch, when you have to replace 4 starters on the offensive line, people don't talk about that. That's like trying to open up a bank with no deposits.
Yeah. Patience, like you said, it was this perfect snowball there. Offensive line just struggled tremendously. And what a great job they did against arguably the best D line in the SEC against Oklahoma. And you give him some time, he looks totally different. Patience, right? It's like we're saying about Simmons and what we said about Tide Alabama. Quarterbacks, the light comes on at different times for everybody.
Yeah, and the thing you just mentioned, I don't think there's any doubt the way Oklahoma had been playing, they're the best, if not one of the 2 best defensive fronts in the league. And Texas, 23-6. And John Mateer, we know he was hurt, but I don't know. They may look back on that as we should have never put John Mateer out there. I don't know if that set him back in his recovery. I'm going to guess it does, but you're under a lot of pressure to win those games. All right, so you go on down and you look at Missouri. Missouri goes to Auburn this weekend, and they played a hell of a game against Alabama, lost 27-24. You see all that, we keep talking about it, the end zone, all the construction, over $300 million in stadium improvements at Faurot Field. They are flat serious about football at Missouri. I think they've decided we're not a Big 10 school. We're not a Big 12 school. We're going to buy all into the SEC. True or false?
Yeah, true. Like Kiffin, all the schools that think they're going to get Drink are going to be highly disappointed at the end of the year. Like all the schools that think they're going to get Kiffin.
Yeah,
Mark it, put it in the books. Neither one of them are going anywhere.
Yeah, and I try to tell people about Ole Miss. Most of them have never been to Oxford, and I've spent a lot of time down there. You just do yourself a favor, and go to Oxford, go to a game there, or just go there in the off season, and you'll understand why. If you're winning there and you're making the kind of money that Lane's making, I just don't see him leave. Everybody says he's going to leave. Well, he's got Ole Miss doing things they hadn't done in 60 years.
I don't think everybody's saying he's going to leave. The only ones that are saying he's going to leave are hopeful fans.
I know that.
Anybody,
I agree.
The people that know Lane, which are very few, and the people on the insiders, I don't think anybody thinks he's leaving.
Yeah, I don't either, and I'm not an insider, but you are. You are Mr. Insider. Rebel Yell Hotline, folks, Monday nights, 6 p.m. Central, Sports 56 WHBQ in Memphis, and also Super Talk Mississippi. You head on down here to Oklahoma, which we talked about, South Carolina. Yeah. Lenora Sellers got so much preseason hype. And, the offensive line coach was a casualty. They got rid of him this week at South Carolina. To say they were bad, just be honest, they were abysmal. They were catastrophically bad, and they couldn't run the ball. I mean, but the position group that's suffering the most from the transfer portal era, no doubt, across the country, offensive line. There's no continuity. It takes years to build a solid offensive line. How many All-American offensive linemen is the SEC? I mean, I have never seen the offensive lines. Matt Stinchcomb was on the show a couple of weeks ago, SEC Network. And I said, what about 7-on-7 football? I think it's killed the offensive line. He goes, yeah, you're playing pajama football. And you said, oh, yeah, there's those 5 guys on the other side of the line of scrimmage. They're just there. Don't worry about them. You're not teaching helmet on helmet, are you?
Yeah, it's destroyed the offensive line, and it's just, everybody has weaknesses, and it's how well you can expose the other teams and hide yours. And it seems like everybody's trying to hide their offensive line these days.
Well, yeah, hide them and just disguise and whatever. You look down at Tennessee and Alabama. I know Rodney just had some issues. I don't know what's going on, but Tennessee and Alabama in Tuscaloosa. Joey Aguilar versus Ty Simpson. Tennessee's pretty good. They've got to do a better job of stopping the run. They've got to do a lot of things better. What do you think happens Saturday in Tuscaloosa?
High scoring game, 40, 42, 35 type game. Neither team can play the run that well, but a lot of great teams can't play the run that well. So it's a different era in football. Both quarterbacks playing at a really high level. I think it's not going to be your slug it out, 21-17 type typical Alabama Tennessee game. I think this is going to be up and down the field.
Yeah, and you start looking around at just the conference. I really think as a league this year, you don't have great offensive lines, but the Big Ten, we know Indiana, they're hot. We don't know how good that league is, but it starts on the offensive line, and if you go head to head in practice every day, the offensive line, defensive line going against each other, it just makes for better, more physical football. And pajama football is what we got. I totally agree with that. All right, we got to talk. We talked about Texas A&M. You look at the Aggies, and they're having a hell of a year. I mean, just look it up. They're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-0. They got Arkansas coming in. They're actually going to Arkansas this weekend. That game for the last 15 years has been played in Dallas. Not anymore. It's coming up there. Bobby Petrino, Arkansas, go on the road, lose 34-31 at Tennessee. So whatever you want to say about Bobby Petrino, there's a lot people want to say. The guy can coach offense. Mike Elko, he wears the big man shirts. You got to love those that you don't tuck in. The guy, he went to Penn. I don't know if he went to Wharton or not. Mike Elko is a really, really smart guy. And I think he was really close to being the Notre Dame head football coach. What happens with the Aggies? Last year the Aggies were 7-1 until they weren't.
Yeah. First, Elko's not going anywhere. A lot of talk from Penn State.
No, I'm talking about before he got the Notre Dame. Remember, he was one of the candidates. Yeah,
I'm just
he ain't
saying
leaving
that
A&M. Yeah.
the Penn State job's open, and a lot of them think that Elko's going to go over there. It's funny how fans think that, their school is the top king of the hill, and they can just go pluck any coach out. And Elko's not going anywhere. But I do think that this is going to be an interesting game. This is an upset alert to me at Arkansas. Petrino's going to try to do everything he can to keep that job. You saw what he did last weekend. They played inspired ball, much better offensively. I think it's going to be a hell of a game.
I do too. And the defense what I'll tell you, the one school, there are two schools. One of them, the one that Matt Stinscombe said, one offensive line that really stands out. He said it's hard to find one, but it's Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt might be the oldest team group of veterans in the SEC. A&M brought back 7 of their 8 starters on the offensive line. As they say down in the Delta, that ain't nothing. Okay, that's a big deal. All right, so look at these Heisman odds. This is pretty cool. And
I've got Vandy beaten. Vandy plays LSU at Vandy, don't they?
Yeah, Vandy. Now that's what I was going to get to next. Before I'm going to look at those Heisman odds that Brendan Martin, our executive producer extraordinaire, put up on 3 Heisman top 10. Vanderbilt host LSU, and we talked with Jacques Doucet earlier in the show from Baton Rouge, one of the best guys. And I said, the earth is still spinning. The sun came up this morning in the Arkansas Delta, and Vanderbilt's a 3.5 point favorite in Nashville against LSU. Do I need to say that again, Yancy?
Yeah, I mean, Vandy, we're going to learn a lot about them. I'm sure they're still kicking themselves over that Bama game and the mistakes they made to let Bama back into the game and let Bama also create momentum and let them win the game. And I think that they're very well coached. They're very experienced. Obviously, they have a great quarterback. And I look for them to come out and play a great game Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Look, Yancy, appreciate you covering for the two engines we lost, but we're still flying in. And I just got the signal from Memphis International Airport. You are cleared to land. Sidelines 117 on runway 119 right. That's a Roger. We'll be right there. But Yancy, you always bring the AAA plus game. And it's really fun looking around the SEC this year. People call it parody or chaos or whatever. But you know what? It damn sure is entertaining, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the best game in the world.
We can't get enough. Now, as Tony Barnhart says, not even the adults can screw it up, man. Yancy, we'll do it again next week, man. Have a blessed day. And you're one of the favorite people we have on here.
Thank you again. Take care.
Okay, you bet. You too. All right, we'll wrap it up here and say something about, I love these comments. And I wish everybody would put their hometown where they're from on these comments. It's got to be kind of cool. Mr. Sip, I don't know. He may be from Oregon. I don't know. But Gator George and all these people like that. I know Gator George is out in Portland. But let's say something about sponsors. Landers Ford, Memphis.com, Poplar and Houston Levy. Man, I love these people. Kent Ritchie, what they do for the Touchdown Club of Memphis out at Rossville, up in Covington, Houston High School, Collierville, Christian Brothers High School, Tom Nick Stadium, Landers Field. You know, you're hard-pressed to find a business that puts that much back into the community. What they do for Le Bonheur, for the Liberty Bowl, for college football, how blessed we are. Okay, and also, they're open every day of the week except Sunday. And Brad Bellamy, the general manager, asked for Brad. It's a lot of anxiety when you're going to look for a vehicle. Talk to Brad. I promise you, nobody will work harder than him and his staff to get you in a vehicle. Hemp for Pros out in Oregon. That is our friend Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix. You've got the energy, the chill, and the lights out gummies. They've got pain, lotions, and topicals. One of our viewers yesterday texted me and said, hey, I ordered the pain lotion and also ordered several things of the gummies. Use that QR code, get 25% off. They really, really work. And Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. I was out there yesterday. Boxes coming in every single day. They got stuff coming in. And I mean, really good stuff. Barber, Filson, the Duckhead jackets, the women's Barber, the boots, you know, the Stetson, the Ariat. They've got a Wrangler Filson jacket now. It is so good looking. Men and women wear it, and it's lined. It's a Wrangler cut with Filson material. They've got it all. Hewlett & Dunn is open every day of the week, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. except Sunday. Keep in mind, starting Black Friday weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, they'll be open on Sundays. But Charles Hall, Laura Hall, Raven, Lydia, J.M. Huffman, you cannot get better people, but it is coming in every day. So much stuff, HewlettandDunn.com. And Rumble Boxing, how you fight is how you live. And I'll tell you one thing, when you're going through tough times, just keep on going. And remember, most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. We are the most blessed people in the history of the world. And no matter what your day is like, remember, there's someone out there who's got it tougher than you do, and find excuses to win and never sell out. Always keep your integrity because your honor is dearer than your life. For executive producer Brendan Martin, Rob Browne saying, have a great day. See you tonight on this great channel.